family criticized my alternative medicine. Western doctors failed me, and acupuncture fixed my pain fast. I'm standing in my parents' kitchen with my shoes still on, one hand braced on the counter like it's the only thing keeping me upright, when my brother snatches the little appointment card out of my coat pocket and goes, "Acupuncture," like he's caught me buying drugs. My mom's face tightens instantly. My dad does that short laugh he saves for when he thinks someone's being stupid. The overhead light is too bright, the tiles are too cold through my soles, and I can feel that familiar nerve pain trying to wake up in my hip like a bad habit. I've barely managed to get through the front door without limping, and now they're all looking at me like the biggest emergency in the room is the fact that I let someone put needles in my body. "Give it back," I say, reaching, but my brother pulls his arm away, already reading it. He's in his third year of med school, which means he talks like he's 10 years older than me, and every sentence ends with the confidence of a textbook. "You paid money for this," he says. "Maya, come on. Please tell me you didn't pay money for this." My mom slides a chopping board aside and leans forward, eyes scanning me like she's looking for a bruise that proves I've been irresponsible. "How much?" she asks sharp. "Tell me how much you spent." My dad's still leaning on the fridge, arms crossed, like he's watching a reality show. "All this because your back hurts," he says, and the way he says hurts makes it sound like a choice. I open my mouth to defend myself, and nothing comes out at first because I can feel the heat rising behind my eyes, and I hate that they can still do that to me. Make me feel 12 years old. Make me feel like I need permission to try to feel better. It was a Tuesday night 3 months ago when I realized I couldn't keep living like my body was a broken appliance everyone had decided to ignore. I've been lying on my living room floor with my cheek pressed into the rug because it was the only position that dulled the stabbing sensation in my lower back, and I was watching the ceiling fan spin like a hypnotist. My phone was on speaker, and the after-hours nurse line was telling me, again, to take ibuprofen, apply heat, and follow up with your GP. My girlfriend, Lena, was kneeling next to me with her hand hovering over my shoulder, like she didn't know if touching me would help or make it worse. I could hear my own breathing, thin and angry, like I was trying not to cry from pain and frustration at the same time. When the nurse asked me to rate my pain from 1 to 10, I said 8, and then immediately felt stupid because it didn't matter what number I said. 8, 9, 10, it all got filed under the same polite script. "It's good you've already had imaging," she said. "It's reassuring there's nothing serious." Reassuring. Like the point of my life was to not be dying, not to actually be functioning. This started last year in the least dramatic way possible, which is what makes it so hard to explain to people who think pain has to come with a car crash or a screaming injury to count. I woke up one morning with a tightness in my lower back that felt like I'd slept twisted. I work on my feet, and I've been doing extra shifts because we were saving for a holiday. I assumed I'd overdone it. I stretched. I took a hot shower. I went to work. By lunchtime, it felt like someone had threaded a wire through my right hip and was tugging it every time I moved. By the end of the day, I was leaning on the counter in the staff room, pretending I was just tired while my legs trembled under me. I saw my GP a week later because it wasn't going away. She did a quick exam, pressed around my spine, had me lift my legs, asked if I'd been stressed. I remember that question because it came so fast, like it was the obvious explanation. I said yes, because who isn't stressed? And she nodded like she'd solved it. "Muscle tension," she said. "Probably a bit of inflammation. Rest, anti-inflammatories, gentle movement, physio." She said it kindly. I wanted to trust her. I did trust her at first. Physio helped a little in the way a Band-Aid helps when you're bleeding from somewhere deeper. They gave me stretches, taught me about posture, taped my back, did dry needling once, and told me it might be uncomfortable. I did everything exactly as instructed because I'm that person. I'm the person who follows the plan. I bought the foam roller. I set reminders for stretches. I stopped lifting heavy things. I paid money I didn't really have for more sessions because I kept thinking if I do this properly, it will resolve. Instead, the pain started evolving. It stopped being a clear, I pulled something sensation and became this unpredictable, electric thing. Some days it sat low and heavy like a brick. Other days it shot down my leg like a live wire and made my foot tingle. I'd be fine in the morning and then bend to put laundry in the machine and feel my whole body seize like it was protecting itself from being torn in half. There were nights I couldn't roll over in bed without waking up with a gasp. Lena would ask if I needed anything, and I'd say no because I hated the way needing things made me feel trapped. Then came the doctor carousel. If you've never had ongoing pain, it's hard to describe how exhausting the logistics are on top of the pain itself. Booking appointments, waiting weeks, repeating the same story, feeling like you're performing your own suffering so someone will take you seriously. I got referred for imaging. The first scan came back unremarkable. The second showed mild disc changes. Mild. Everything was mild. Mild changes. Mild degeneration. Mild inflammation. Meanwhile, I couldn't stand long enough to cook pasta. I'd lean against the bench and watch Lena do it, and the resentment would twist in my stomach because I didn't want to be watching my life from the sidelines. The worst part wasn't even the pain. It was the way people responded to it once it wasn't new. At first, everyone is sympathetic. After a few months, the sympathy starts to thin out. Friends stop asking because it's awkward. Family starts suggesting you're not trying hard enough. Doctors start using that careful tone that means I think this might be in your head, and I need you to not embarrass me by arguing. The first time a doctor implied it was anxiety, I laughed because it was so ridiculous it felt like a joke. I was sitting on crinkly paper in a specialist's office, my back spasming every time I shifted, and he said, sometimes pain pathways become sensitized. Stress can amplify symptoms. He didn't say you're making it up. He didn't have to. The implication hung in the air. I asked what I should do, and he suggested mindfulness and maybe a short course of muscle relaxants. I tried the muscle relaxants. They made me feel like my brain was wrapped in cotton and my back still hurt. I tried stronger pain meds once, and they made me nauseous and dizzy and weirdly angry. I tried heat packs until my skin was mottled. I tried ice until my muscles clenched in protest. I got told to keep moving, but also don't aggravate it, like I was supposed to find the magical level of movement that didn't exist. I stopped going out because sitting in a restaurant chair for more than 30 minutes felt like punishment. I started saying no to friends and then watching the invites dry up. Lena would still go, sometimes, and she'd come home with stories about how everyone asked where I was. They missed you, she'd say gently, and I'd nod while thinking, they missed the version of me that isn't in pain. They missed the me who isn't complicated. My family, though, took it personally. My mom is the kind of woman who believes in hard work as a moral value. Pain that can't be measured or fixed quickly makes her uncomfortable because she can't solve it with effort. She'd call and ask how I was, and if I sounded tired, she'd say, you need to stop focusing on it. My dad would offer advice like, just go for a run, loosen it up, like my body was a rusty hinge and I was being lazy about oiling it. And my brother, my brilliant, smug brother, kept dropping little facts like he was educating a child. Most back pain resolves within 12 weeks, he'd say. Chronic pain is often multifactorial. Multifactorial. Translation, you're complicated and I don't want to deal with it. The acupuncture idea came from a coworker named Sharon, who I honestly didn't even like that much before this. Sharon is one of those women who knows everyone's business and always has peppermint tea and somehow never looks tired. One day I was sitting at my desk trying not to grimace every time I shifted, and she said, "You're still dealing with that?" I said yes, and she didn't say the usual pity line. She said, "Do you want the name of someone?" I laughed and said, "A surgeon? A miracle worker? An acupuncturist," she said, like it was the most normal thing in the world. Before you roll your eyes, just listen. I had nerve pain down my arm for 6 months. Specialists, scans, physio, all of it. I went to him and I walked out with my fingers not tingling for the first time in months. I wanted to dismiss it. I wanted to be the rational person who doesn't get taken in by anything that looks like a spa brochure. But something in me, something exhausted and desperate and tired of being told to breathe through it, said, what if? I didn't tell my family. I didn't even tell Lena at first because I didn't want her to look at me with that careful hope that makes failure feel heavier. I booked the appointment quietly, like I was cheating on my own medical plan. The clinic was in a little building behind a cafe, and the waiting room smelled faintly of herbal tea and clean linen. It looked calm in a way that made me suspicious. The guy at the desk didn't treat me like a problem. He just handed me forms and said, "Take your time." When the acupuncturist, Ken, called me in, I braced myself for nonsense. I braced myself for someone telling me my energy was blocked, and I had already decided I'd walk out if it got weird. But Ken didn't start with energy. He started with questions. Real questions. How does it feel? Where does it radiate? When is it worse? What makes it better? What happened before it started? He asked about my sleep. He asked about my work. He asked if I'd been compensating on one side. He asked if I'd had any injuries when I was younger. I found myself talking for 20 minutes straight, and the strangest part was he didn't interrupt. He didn't rush me. He didn't make me feel like I was performing. He just listened. Then he said something no one else had said to me in a way that landed. "You've been in pain a long time," he said. "Your nervous system has learned this pattern. We're going to try to calm it down." I lay on the table feeling ridiculous, staring at the ceiling, while he cleaned points on my skin. The first needle felt like a tiny pinch, and then nothing. The second was a faint ache that spread outward like warmth. The third made my leg twitch involuntarily, and I jolted, heart racing, thinking I'd been stabbed wrong. But Ken just said calmly, "That's a good sign. It's responding." I don't know how to describe what happened over the next 20 minutes without sounding like I'm trying to sell something. I didn't levitate. I didn't have a spiritual awakening. I just felt my body stop bracing. The constant clench in my lower back softened like a fist unclenching. The buzzing in my leg dialed down. I didn't even realize how loud the pain had been in my nervous system until it wasn't screaming. When Ken came back and removed the needles, I sat up slowly, prepared for the familiar stab. It wasn't gone, but it was quieter. I swung my legs off the table and stood, and my brain did this delayed blink like it couldn't process that I wasn't immediately punished for standing. "Don't get excited," Ken said, not unkindly. "Sometimes the first session gives you a window. Sometimes it takes a few. But your body can change. That's important." I walked to my car and cried, not because I was cured, but because for the first time in months, I felt like something had shifted. I felt like there was a possibility that wasn't just learn to live with it. And then, because my life has a sense of humor, I went straight to my parents' house for dinner, because my mom had been guilting me about not visiting. I told myself I'd just show up, eat, keep it light, and leave. I also told myself, if they ask why I seem less tense, I won't mention the needles. I should have known better. My brother is nosy. My mom is sharp. I put my coat on a chair and went to the bathroom, and at some point my appointment card must have slipped out. That's how we ended up in the kitchen with them looking at me like I'd joined a cult. When I finally find my voice again, it comes out more tired than angry. "It helped," I say. "I don't care if you think it's stupid. It helped." My mom's eyes flash. "Help how?" she demands. "You had one session and now you're suddenly fine?" "I'm not suddenly fine," I say, and the frustration cracks through. "But I can stand here right now without feeling like my leg is on fire, and that is more relief than I've had in months." My brother shakes his head, still holding the card like evidence. "Placebo," he says immediately. I laugh sharp. "You haven't even asked what's been going on," I snap. "You've barely asked how bad it is. You've just told me statistics." My dad pushes off the fridge and comes closer. "We're just worried," he says, but his tone is dismissive, like worry is the excuse that makes criticism acceptable. These people prey on desperate people. I look at him and feel that old anger, the one that comes from being treated like I'm naive. "You know who else preyed on me?" I say, and my voice shakes now. "The specialist who billed me hundreds of dollars to tell me to do mindfulness. The doctor who told me it was probably anxiety when I couldn't sleep for pain. The physio who said, maybe you just have to accept it after I paid for 10 sessions. At least Ken listened to me." My mom's mouth tightens. "So now you're saying doctors are useless?" "No," I say quickly, because I can hear how this is going to get twisted. "I'm saying I did what they said. I did all of it. And I'm still here. I'm still in pain. I'm still shrinking my life. And I tried something else because I'm tired of being told to wait it out." My brother scoffs. Acupuncture isn't evidence-based for her. Stop. I interrupt, surprising myself. I'm not usually the interrupter. Stop talking like that. Like you're in a lecture. I'm your sister. He blinks, thrown off. My mom's eyes dart between us like she wants control back. Maya, she says, softer now, the tone she uses when she's trying to bring me back into line. We just don't want you wasting money. I stare at her, and the words come out before I can filter them. I've been wasting my life, I say. I've been canceling plans and lying in bed and pretending I'm okay, so you don't think I'm weak. I spent money on one session because I wanted to feel like a person again. The room goes quiet. Even my dad looks uncomfortable. There's a moment where my mom's face flickers, something like guilt, maybe, or fear that she pushed too hard. Then she hardens again because softness is hard for her. You always take things so personally, she says. That line lands like a slap. I feel my chest tighten. Lena calls it the family fog, the way my family can drop one sentence, and suddenly I'm doubting my reality. I grip the counter again and force myself to stay steady. I'm taking it personally because it is personal, I say, slower now. It's my body. It's my pain. It's my life. My brother tosses the appointment card onto the table like he's done with the conversation. Do what you want, he says, but he can't help adding, just don't be shocked when it doesn't work. Okay, I say, and I hear how calm I sound, which is new. And don't be shocked when it does. Dinner is tense after that. My mom serves food with clipped movements. My dad makes small talk like he's filling silence with gravel. My brother scrolls on his phone and occasionally sighs like we're all embarrassing him. I chew mechanically, not tasting much, my whole body buzzing with the afterglow of relief and the sting of being dismissed. When I get home, Lena is on the couch, legs tucked under her, and she sits up immediately when she sees my face. How'd it go? She asks, gentle. I take off my shoes and stand there for a second, and I realize my back isn't screaming. It's there, but it's quieter, and the fact that I can notice the difference is like a small miracle. The acupuncture helped, I say, and my voice cracks on the word helped, because it still feels fragile to say it out loud. And my family acted like I've lost my mind. Lena's expression softens into that mix of anger and tenderness she gets when someone hurts me. Of course they did, she says quietly. How do you feel? I open my mouth to answer and realize I don't have one simple feeling. I feel relieved. I feel hopeful. I feel furious. I feel embarrassed that their opinions still get under my skin. I feel guilty for spending money. I feel guilty for not spending it sooner. I feel like I'm done explaining myself. I finally say. Over the next few weeks, I kept going. Not because I suddenly believed acupuncture was magic, but because it was the first thing that gave me any measurable shift. Some sessions did more than others. Some days the relief lasted hours, then days. It wasn't linear. It wasn't a clean, satisfying, fixed story. But the baseline started to change. The pain spikes got less frequent. The buzzing down my leg eased enough that I could sleep more than 4 hours without waking up. I could walk around the block again. I could stand at work without constantly shifting like I was trying to escape my own skin. I also went back to my GP because I wasn't trying to replace anyone. I told her, honestly, I've been doing acupuncture and it's helping. I expected her to roll her eyes. She didn't. She surprised me. She said, if it helps and you're safe, that's good. And then she actually referred me to a pain clinic that had a multidisciplinary approach, physio, psychology, medication review, lifestyle, the whole thing. Like she finally accepted this wasn't going to vanish on its own. That moment mattered to me more than I expected. Not because I needed a doctor's permission to keep doing what worked, but because I needed someone in the official system to stop treating my pain like a personality flaw. I needed the legitimacy of being taken seriously. My family didn't soften immediately. They kept making little comments. How's the needle hobby? My dad said once on the phone, like he was joking. My mom would ask, so are you cured yet? In that tone that dared me to admit I wasn't. My brother sent me a link to an article about placebo effects with no message attached. I stared at it for a long time before deleting it. The real turning point came at my cousin's engagement party, of all places. Lena and I almost didn't go because parties are hard when you're managing pain and family stress. but I hadn't been in weeks, and my mom was already acting like I was disappearing on purpose. So we went. It was loud, crowded, the kind of event where everyone stands around high tables balancing plates and pretending they're not sweating. I was doing okay, actually okay, until an older aunt cornered me near the drinks and said, loudly, "Your mother says you've been doing needles now because you can't handle a sore back." I felt my face flush. I looked across the room and saw my mom watching. Not apologetic, just watchful, like she wanted to see if I'd behave. Something in me snapped, again, but this time it wasn't anger. It was clarity. I was done being a family story. I was done letting my pain become gossip. I smiled tightly at my aunt and said, "I've had nerve pain that's kept me from sleeping and working normally for months. I tried doctors and physio and scans and medication. Acupuncture has been one of the only things that's reduced it. If you think that's weak, that's your problem." My aunt blinked like I'd spoken in another language. The table went quiet around us. Lena's hand slid to my lower back, steadying. My mom's eyes widened from across the room, and for once, she looked unsure. Afterward in the car, Lena said, "That was hot." I laughed, shaky. I felt like I was going to throw up. "But you did it," she said. "You didn't let them make it shameful." The next day, my mom called. I braced myself for a lecture. Instead, she was quiet for a moment, and then said, "Your aunt told me what you said." "Yeah," I said flat. Another pause. Then, in a small voice that sounded unfamiliar, she said, "I didn't realize it was that bad." I wanted to scream. I wanted to say, "Of course it was that bad. I've been telling you." But something in me softened, just a fraction, because I could hear that this was as close to an admission as she was capable of. "I didn't want to make a big deal," I said, and I hated how automatic that was, like my default setting is still to minimize myself. My mom exhaled. "I just worry," she said. "I know," I replied. "But when you mock what I'm trying, it doesn't feel like worry. It feels like you're trying to control how I'm allowed to get better." She was quiet again. Then she said, "Your brother thinks it's nonsense." "I don't care what he thinks," I said, and my voice surprised me with how steady it was. "He's not the one living in my body." She didn't argue. She didn't apologize exactly, but she didn't argue. That was something. Now, months later, I'm not going to pretend I'm cured forever and nothing can ever flare again. I still have bad days. I still have to manage my workload and sleep and stress. I still do physio exercises, still check in with my doctor, still watch for red flags. I'm not anti-Western medicine. I'm anti-being dismissed. I'm anti-being told to just handle it. I'm anti the way people get uncomfortable with anything that isn't simple. But I can walk without limping most days now. I can sleep. I can stand in my own kitchen and cook dinner again. I can meet friends for coffee and not spend the whole time silently counting the minutes until I can lie down. Those things sound small until you lose them. Then they become everything. And the weirdest part is that the pain taught me something I didn't expect. How quickly people will choose their worldview over your reality. My family didn't criticize acupuncture because they had carefully researched it. They criticized it because accepting that it helped would mean accepting that the system they trust didn't help me fast. It would mean accepting that my pain was real and complicated and not solved by telling me to toughen up. It would mean accepting that I have agency over my own body. So I'm keeping that agency. I'm doing what helps, and I'm being honest about it, even when it makes other people uncomfortable. If someone wants to roll their eyes, they can. They're welcome to keep their opinions. I'm keeping my sleep. I'm keeping my mobility. I'm keeping the version of me that doesn't have to grip a kitchen counter just to stay upright.